Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another edition of the Good Morning Gwinnett Show. I'm your host, Audrey Bell Kearney. This is our Power Player Friday, y'all. I got some Power Players on the line with me today. I'm so happy to be here. This is the second episode of Power Player. Y'all know normally on Fridays I am off, but guess what I decided to do? I decided to broadcast live on Fridays because I want to talk to power players like my power player of the day, Mr. Ryan Cox. He's here with some of the youth that are a part of his program, Gwinnett Chat Outreach, which I'm so excited to be here. I had a chance to talk to them last week. We were at Top Golf up in Beaufort. I didn't play golf though. I should have played at least played one game of golf, at least hit the ball, but I did not. I did not. However, I will be going back to do that again. So we're going to be talking to Ryan today about why he started Gwinnett Chat Outreach. We're also going to be hearing from some of the young men that participate in the program. We're going to find out what they need to support this organization. We're also going to find out what did Ryan do to raise $300,000, because he told me that my mouth hit the floor like bam, because we like, okay, that's a lot of money. And I know that right now a lot of nonprofits are struggling to make that kind of impact and to be able to get those type of resources. So I'm happy to have Ryan here with me today, along with some of the young men that you'll get a chance to hear from. Some of them are kind of shy, some of them not so much. So but anyway, we're going to talk to a few of them today. So, Ryan, thank you so much for joining me. We're together again. We were together last week, and we're back together again. We've been together a lot here lately. I was at Gwinnett Dancing Stars. We were at the Greater East Side networking event. We kind of been hanging out here lately, but that's cool.
Yeah. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, I appreciate you showing a lot of support. So any support we can get from the community is always great. So I think
Good, good,
everybody's looking
good.
forward to being on here today. They were all nervous, like, what questions are she? What questions she gonna ask? I'm like, I don't know. I said, you'll find out when I find out.
Well, thank you all for joining Ryan and I today. Trust me, it won't be anything that you can't answer. And if you can't, just say, I don't know. That's the thing about, having an opinion. If you don't know, you don't know. And that's cool. So, Ryan, please tell the audience. And by the way, y'all, we are streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and Roku. So we're everywhere right now. Please tell the people what Gwinnett Chat Outreach is and why you started the organization.
So Gwinnett Chat Outreach is it's kind of like a youth mentoring. And so what we try to do is take a different approach to the nonprofit sector. Well, rather than just being a surface level thing, we try to get to some of the root causes and trying to be more proactive in our response rather than reactive. And what I mean by that, a lot of nonprofits and just things in general, you see people wait until there's a problem and then they try to come in with the solution. Where I want to wait, I don't want to wait till there's a problem. I want to get to things before they happen and be able to help these young people before they start making bad decisions. So what we do a lot of behind the scenes tours of different businesses. We do college tours. We do, like you spoke about, we go out to Top Golf and we bring in different guest speakers all the time. We do a lot of outreach out into the community too, whether it be food drives, whether it be our box fan and water donations that we do, whether it be any other type of events that we're actually doing to help our Gwinnett County community. So we're just trying to be a more holistic approach and trying to really make a big impact and a big difference here in Gwinnett County.
I want to ask a couple. Any one of you guys can answer this. So you've been a part of the Gwinnett Chat Outreach for a minute now. What does that mean to you? Because I know we were at Top Golf last week, and you guys could have been anywhere. You could have been somewhere playing Fortnite or any other game. But why did you decide to be a part of Gwinnett Chat Outreach, and what does that mean to you? Just in either one of you, just jump in there. I'm not.
Um,
Okay,
I
go
go.
ahead.
Um,
What's your name?
well, what it means to me is my name is Tristan Johnson. What it means to me is that like it gives me like unique experiences where I don't think I would get from like maybe like somewhere else, and it gives me like different perspectives of like different jobs there are besides like a normal like NFL, NBA, MLB, like the rappers and stuff like that.
Oh, cool, cool, cool. Now, I'm a part of a sorority, and when I think about my sorrows, I think about a sisterhood. Do you guys consider yourself to be like a brotherhood? Because I see GCO gang right there. I actually like that. That's kind of cool. Do you guys consider yourself to be like a brotherhood?
Somewhat, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, Ryan, you have a unique group of young men here. I had a chance to talk to some of them. Some of them want to be, in the tech space. Some want to be, in the gaming space. Being a part of this organization, starting this organization, what has been some of the pushback that you've gotten from starting such an organization, or have you gotten any pushback?
Well, I haven't necessarily got pushback, but one of the things that I hear a lot, and where one of the things where I will stop people quick, is where they'll tell me, hey, we don't need to push these kids to go into 4-year schools so they can take on a lot of debt. We need to push them towards trade schools, so because everybody needs to trade. And that's where I push back. And I will stop anybody. I don't care who they are. And I say, no, that's not my job. My job is to show them all the options. So they'll tell you that we've been to technical schools, we've been to trade schools, we've been to 4-year universities. We've seen all type of behind the scenes workplaces. So my job is to show them all the options, let them make up their own minds and decide what they want to do. Because one of the things that a lot of people who say that, and maybe they mean it in good faith, but we don't go out into areas where there's a ton of money. We don't go out into a Johns Creek or to an Alpharetta, Milton, those type areas and say, hey, don't go to a 4-year school. You need to focus on a trade school instead. But we will do that to young Black and brown kids, or we will do that to kids who don't come from wealth. And so my thing is, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to push them in that direction. We're going to show them all the options and let them make up their minds. So one of the things that I do with them is I ask them, what are your interests? What is something that you like? What do you want to do? And I will try and find a behind the scenes tour to set up so you can see it firsthand.
So speaking of, your interests, I know you guys shared with me last week some of your interests, but I have a viewing audience right now that are, they're watching you. So if you want to, can you share with me, starting from Leo, right down to Tristan and right around in the circle, what are some of your interests that you have, since you started Gwinnett Chat, you said, okay, I didn't know this was an option for me, but now I know it's an option and it's something I'm interested in. Share that with me, starting with Leo.
I'm Leo. I'm interested in automotive technology. Currently, I'm enrolled at Gwinnett Technical College, Ford.
All right.
I'm Tristan, and I would like to go to college for maybe like a technology field, something to do with like computers, coding, gaming, stuff like that.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Richard, and I am interested in truck driving and helping my dad because he's owner operator, and I could help him, and I could do the Army Reserves, so I can make income from 2 things.
Multiple streams of income. I hear you, Jonathan. I like that. Multiple streams of income. I hear you. Okay, next young man. Tarian is, yeah.
Hello, my name is Kevin. I'm interested in marine biology.
Nice. Okay.
My name is Gerald Thornton, and I'm interested in like producing music.
I can hardly hear you.
Yes,
I said my name is Gerald Thornton, and I'm interested in producing music.
Producing music. All right. So listen, we got a variety of career options here. All of them good career options. The one thing I could say to all of you is that once you decide that's what you really want to do, just focus on that with everything you got, because you're gonna get many more. And if you stick with Ryan, he's gonna open you up to a whole lot of opportunities, and then you're gonna get confused, like most of us entrepreneurs are like, oh my God, I want to do all of them. Don't do that. So I'm just telling you that right off the bat. So Ryan, you have gotten a lot of support from the community, right to the point where you've been able to raise $300,000. Tell us about what that process was like, and how did you manage to raise so much money when there are so many nonprofits out there right now who are struggling trying to get their first dollar? I know there's a lady who comes to one of my breakfast meetings, and she has a nonprofit. As a matter of fact, I work with a lot of nonprofits, and the thing I hear the most is that we need to raise money. We need a grant writer. How have you been able to, and so fortunate to raise that amount of money for your organization?
Well, it's twofold. And I talked to a lot of other nonprofits, smaller ones like myself, who had a hard time. And the first thing I tell them is you're not going to be successful if you're trying to do it part-time. Like you honestly, with any business, you have to commit and do it full-time. That's number one, because too many people's like, oh, I'll work my regular 9 to 5 and then I'll kind of do this and hopefully it'll grow. And what people need to realize too, it takes a good 2 years before you're going to probably get any type of grant. So you're going to have to put in the work. And so the other thing people have to realize, not only do you have to put in the work, you have to attend everything. You need to be visible and you need to show your face and get to know people and the right people. Because if you're not showing up to things and you are trying to get money, it's like doing business with anything. People do business with people that they know. And if they don't know you exist, they're like, well, I don't know who this person is. I've never seen them before, but I do know this person. They come to all my meetings. They come to all, whatever it is, they're coming to everything. So, and I've seen what they do. Another thing they need to do is have a body of work, because nobody's going to really invest in you until you have a body of work.
What does that mean, have a body of work? When you say have a body of work, what does that mean?
That means you're actually doing what your organization is saying. So you can ask any 5 of these young men that are in here, and you can ask them what we do. And they can give you examples of everything that we've done. And I document everything. If anybody follows any of my social media, you will see all of the events that we do, and we document it. So we have the proof that we're out here really doing things. So that's what I mean by having a body of work. You got to put in all the work. It's going to take some of your own investment first before you get there. So once you do that, then you can start applying for grants, because the first thing, you got to show up to things. You got to have people who will vouch for you and say, I've seen this. I've been there firsthand. I've been a part of this. This is what they're doing. Another thing, even when you're using social media, I tell people all the time, stop using stock photos. So anything that I post, is one thing if you're making a flyer, but even on my flyers, I use pictures from events that we're actually doing. So you'll never see me posting anything with a stock photo. I only use the things that we've been out and about, going ahead and doing the things. So even like yesterday, we did a CPR class. I still got to get time to put the video and pictures together. I posted the one picture, but that's just the proof saying, hey, here's proof of the things that we're doing out here. So those are like the 3 things that I would recommend people start off trying to do before you try to ask for money.
So now, with those 3 things, and true, you have to be out there and be visible. I can tell you a quick story. When it was election season, when the primaries was coming up, I voted for people who showed up to my breakfast, people that I had never talked to before, but because they came out and broke bread with me when it was time for me to go to the poll. And I know my husband don't know who to vote for because he's now out and about like me. I know my daughter doesn't know. So I told him, listen, I sent them a list of people, like, vote for these people. About 3 of those people were actually on that list because they sat down and they had breakfast with me. And I remember my husband and I went to the poll together, and it was a guy's name on the ballot. And I was like, man, this guy's name sounds familiar. My husband said, oh, he sat with us at the gala. Now, I hardly sat down at the gala because I was running around, trying to help everybody out. But at the table where my husband sat, that guy sat there and talked to him. I didn't remember who he was. I remember his name sound familiar. But when we got to the ballot, my husband said, oh, yeah, that's the guy that sat to our table at the gala. And so we voted for him, right? So you're absolutely right about that. People will support the people that they like and know. Now, I want to get a little bit more technical about the fundraising part, because I think that there's still a lot of people out there who are struggling that would like to know, did the majority of the money that came into the organization, did it come from individuals? Did it come from community organizations that support your organization? Did it come from donations from regular people? Was it grants? How was that broken down?
It's a mixture, but most of it has been the bulk of it. You got corporate sponsors, so we have some corporate sponsors on board. We have community people. We have some people who do recurring donations, and then we have some grants that we won as well. So it just varies, and that's where I say it goes back out to getting to know people and getting to know organizations. So one of ours, like you were at the fundraiser at the gala that we did, and so Ali, who was the guy who did the scholarship for Leo, the way we got him involved, he came out to Top Golf. He came out to Top Golf with us a while back, and he said he was asking a lot of questions about the kid. He's like, I see a lot of myself in these kids. He was like, I want to be a part of this. I love what you're doing. I want to be a part of this. And so that's what made him come on board to be a corporate sponsor of ours. And so that's what everything goes back. Everything goes back to relationships. And so whenever I do events, I try and invite other business leaders or other people out to see what we're doing firsthand, because it's one thing to describe it. It's another thing when you see it firsthand and then you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. This is something that I can really get behind. This is something that I want to be a part of. And so that's what's going to help you. And so then when you go to write any type of grants or anything like that, and goes back to the other relationships and having people know who you are. So when you go to write grants, then you can go back to these people that you've made these relationships with and say, hey, can you write me a letter of recommendation? Can you write a letter of support that I can submit with my grant? And so the more people you know with a lot of positions of authority, power, higher up they are in different things, it goes a long way, because what they see is you start making relationships with, I won't say with the right people, and people who can actually help get things done. So that helps a lot.
Is there like a database of grants? Because I talk to a lot of nonprofits, and the first thing they say to me, we don't even know where to look for these grants. And where do you find grants? Because it's so many nonprofits out there who want to do good work, but they just cannot find the grants that are available. Is there like a database of grants, or do you just go on the internet and Google grants? How do you find your grants?
Well, I have a grant writer. So what I do is I pay a grant writer to do all the work for me, because a lot of times between everything else I have going on, I just don't have the time myself to do it. So there are companies and organizations where that's all they do. And I say, if you have the money, you have the resources, and you're going to have to invest, because people think, I see a lot of people who are starting nonprofits and they think, oh, I'm going to find a grant, I'm going to apply for it, and then everything is just going to be smooth. And it doesn't work that way. So you're going to have to put in a lot of work first. And then you're going to have to, unless you're a grant writer yourself, you're going to have to hire somebody to write grants. Or you can even go to like UGA. They have a grant writing course that you can take that's about 3 months long. And you can enroll in that course and you can learn how to write grants yourself, or you could, and they'll show you like where you can find all of these grants. And they're even like grants.gov, which is a government website. They have like all of the government grants that you can apply for. So there is a variety of ways, but me, myself, I pay someone because it's time consuming. Some grants I can do myself. I've applied for some grants myself and won. And then some of the more complex ones, I hire somebody to do it, just because I just don't have the skill. And so I'm not ashamed to admit that I don't have the skill to write the more thorough grants. So that's when it's wise to make an investment to do that.
So the grants that you've actually written for and received, what type of grants were those? Were they educational grants? Were they vocational grants? And how much were they, if you don't mind sharing that with us?
It varies. So like every grant is different. It just depends. So like one, I give an example. So one, it might be like Walmart, and it might be something where it's like, okay, here's and it's literally going to the store. So even like last year, I go to Walmart and I'm getting ready to do my box fan and water giveaway, and so I needed to buy a lot of box fans. So I talked to the managers like, hey, can I get a discount on this, because I need to buy a whole lot of box fans. So when I did that, she's like, well, you know, every store, every Walmart, Sam's, all of that, they have grants. So we can award to up to $250. All you need is a letterhead or write a letter and say what you're going to use it for. And so that was one way. She said also every store every year they can have a store grant where they can give up to $5,000. All you have to do is go onto the website and I forget the website, and then just apply for it. And so then that's what I did. I did that, and then you just wait. And so you can apply. I mean, you can apply for it has to be a minimum of $250 up to $5,000. So you can do it that way. Another grant that we recently won back in May, I think, we did a tour at a college. And the guy who was leading the tour said, hey, you know, we have this foundation here that supports nonprofits that like doing the work that you do. And he was like, I'll start it for you and then you can finish it. And so I applied for that grant and we were awarded that grant just by going and doing that tour of the college. And so that grant right there alone was like $20,000. Wow. So it just varies. It's like I said, everything is about relationships, asking questions. A lot of times just going to stores and just asking. And so they like managers just told me like, hey, we have a grant. Apply for it. Let me know once you apply for it.
You know, I'm so glad you shared that because I really talked to her. There's a woman down in Riverdale. She's a client of mine and her heart is so good. She's a pastor, but she has a nonprofit and she does a lot of nonprofit work and a lot of it comes out of her pocket. But she's always trying to figure out how to get grants. I don't know how to get grants. So I'm like, well, I don't know how to do that part. I can help you on the business side, but I have no clue. And she does a lot of stuff like when they had the storms in Mississippi, when they had the storms in Tennessee in Louisiana, they took truckloads of water and things like that. But a lot of that came out of her pocket, even though she's a nonprofit. And so she drove from Georgia to those towns to make sure people had clean water. So I'm glad you shared that because I don't think a lot of people know that. I don't think they know that there are colleges that have foundations where you can go and apply for grants. Now, you and I have had this discussion plenty of times. And I know you're going to get fired up, but I'm going to go ahead and get you fired up anyway. There is a lot of money floating around our county. And there's a lot of people who get this money, the same people, the same organizations over and over and over. Have you figured out a way to break down that barrier? Because by now, I'm sure that the people that pass that money out already know who you are because you're very vocal about what you're doing. You're also very vocal about your dissatisfaction with the way that money is dispersed. Have you figured out how to actually say, listen, we need you to help support our organization so you can actually get access to that funding?
No, I still haven't. And so I will continue to call it out. And so as I'm driving around this morning, one of the things that I told them as we're driving, because we have some conversations sometimes, and I talk to them kind of like we're having conversations now. And I expressed to them my concern. Not necessarily about the money, but what I'm seeing a failure of leadership. And we have a systemic failure of leadership where no matter, I would say whether it be a state level all the way down to a county and city level. And the reason I say that, I look at what just happened in Snellville where they found the 2 teens dead. They found them shot to death. I look at what happened over in Norcross of Peachtree Corners where the young man was killed at the QT. And I was talking to them and I was talking to my wife and I was like, this is a failure of leadership. This is a failure of society and even us as adults letting these kids down. Because when I look at organizations like myself, what I'm doing here, and I see the impact that we're doing and the changes that we're doing. And I see where you brought up where there's a failure to be able to get the money and resources here. And I think, and I don't know if this would be true or not, but I see where I could have stepped in. And if it's something like an organization like mine or other organizations right here, where we could have got the resources and we could have started working with these young men that are out here doing these violent crimes, where we could have got them as teenagers and put them in a program and keep them productive, maybe this stuff wouldn't have happened. They wouldn't have taken this route because they can tell you now, we've done some events like where we went to Georgia State last week and did a tour. By the time they got home, they were worn out. And so they're so tired. The last thing they're doing is like, hey, I'm going out and I'm about to go rob somebody, or I'm about to go commit some crimes. And so we're trying to keep them busy and keep them productive and let them focus on their future so they don't go out and do that. And that's, to me, that's a failure of leadership, because there's a lot of nonprofits out here that are doing good work and are trying to do good work, but they can't get that funding and that support from a city and a local level. And it's the same organizations that will put a black or brown face on that flyer and not really help. Or they'll do something like, yes, we can fix a homeless situation after they're homeless, but what are we doing to prevent these people from being homeless? So what are we doing to be proactive? And that's where we're messing up. And so there are organizations that want to help, but we keep getting ignored.
You know, I grew up in the inner city. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. And Newark was rough, you know, and it still is. It still is. But it made me the person that I am. Now I could tell you I came from a single parent home, and my mom was instrumental in helping into making sure my brother stayed on the right track. So back then it was like put him in sports, right? And because that's all we knew. There were no video game coding classes, and maybe there were. We didn't know about them. So the best thing my mom did was put my brother into sports. And to this day, my brother is a high school football coach. He coaches at South Gwinnett. My nephew is a college football coach, and my baby nephew plays for Grayson. So that was their way of doing that when there was no man in the family. Do you find that a lot of the young men that you come across, there's a lack of an adult male in the household, which also contributes to, them not having a role model to follow, which is kind of where you kind of step in if you have, young men in that particular space?
It depends, because because we work with a variety. There's some people here that are single family, some come from a dual household. So to me, I don't think it necessarily matters. I think it's just a matter of resources and what's available to them, because it's a situation where let's take Snellville, for instance, where you can go to the Brookwood side of Snellville and you can see what it looks like. And then you go to South Gwinnett, over near South Gwinnett High School, and you look and you'll start seeing where there's potholes and everything on the south side of Snellville, and they're not doing anything. They're not going to allow that type of thing to happen near Brookwood. So there's a uneven distribution of resources, and a lot of times that's what it's coming down to. Now, I can't really speak to, maybe that's a question for them, if you want to ask them that question, but I personally can't speak to them because I don't know what goes on in their household. I will say this. So one of the things that we were able to do before the fundraiser, one of my board members stepped up to the plate. And when he found out that Kevin wanted to dance in the fundraiser, he said, "Does he have a suit yet?" I said, "I don't know." And so he was like, "Well, if he doesn't, don't allow him to buy the suit. I want to step in. I want to buy that suit." So I spoke with his mom, and his mom was like, "No, we haven't. We were still trying to figure it out." And so when we spoke, she was like, I asked her, I said, "Well, do you want to go up there, find something, and I'll pay for it? Or would you like for me to take him?" She was like, "Well, I feel like that's something that another man should be doing. So if you don't mind, do you mind taking him up there?" So I don't know if maybe he want to speak about that and talk about what that whole experience was like. Did you want to speak? Okay. So we'll let Kevin talk more about what that first experience was like, getting fitted for a suit for the first time.
Kevin, I saw you dance, Kevin. I saw you did your thing. Go ahead.
Good, thank you. For the first time getting fitted, it was kind of weird in a sense, because I'm not used to being measured by anybody else except for a doctor. So it was weird in the inseams, how long my neck is, my arms, just in general, just a strange new experience experience. So yeah,
How did it
everything
make you
was
feel? How did it make you feel though once you got the suit? Because I don't know about you, but when women get their hair done and they get some new shoes, we feel like brand new chicks. How did that make you feel with that suit?
oh, it made me feel made me feel clean, you know?
Yeah.
So do you think you think you once you start making this money that you're gonna make, because you're gonna probably make a lot of it, you think you'll be getting more suits that are tailored made? Because not everybody wear tailor made suits. They go to K&G, pick a suit off the rack, stop by Ross, pick up a suit, stop by Marshall. You had a tailor made suit. Do you think you'll be getting more suits that are tailor made?
For sure.
Yeah.
It's
So
kind of hard to go back, y'all. Listen. I don't know if you guys have ever had anything that, I don't know, Louis. My daughter told me about a pocketbook, right? It's called the Forever Bag. I want to say it's a Louis Vuitton or something. It's somebody. It's some kind of Forever Bag. It's like, I got to get that bag. And I was like, well, what's special about the bag? The bag costs $1,800. She said, it's a Forever Bag. I said, it should be for $1,800. But she told me, she said, once you do that, you can't go back. So Kevin, I foresee you being tailor-made all the time, a tailor-made man all the time. So that's pretty cool. I want to ask you guys a question. So Mr. Ryan does a lot of, yeah, go ahead.
Let me step in since we're on that topic right now. And they were, a couple of them were in the car with me the other day while I was driving. And so I don't know if you remember during the event, during the gala, where I had mentioned about my suit and Tom James. So one of the things, the phone call that I got was from Tom James, was from where I got my suit. They make you go into the Tom James store, there's no clothes in there because they make them everything from you pick everything out. So one of the things that we're going to be doing soon, and they got a chance to hear this, was they're going to be getting measured. Everybody in the organization is going to be getting measured, and they're getting clothes like pretty much tailored, custom made, and they're going to be donating clothes to everybody in the organization. And I was just trying to explain to them, and I still don't think they quite get how big of a deal this is. Like, these suits are in the thousands of dollars. Like, these button-down shirt is easily, they start at about $200, and these are the things that we're going to be getting donated to them.
That is amazing. Let me tell you something. The one thing I've learned is that when you put quality into something, you feel different. You walk different. You act different. I mean, all of that, you feel different. And the older you guys get, and the more you're around this type of environment, you're gonna walk different. You're gonna talk different. You're gonna feel different. Your friends are gonna see you differently. You're gonna lose some friends. All of that good stuff, because it's good stuff. It's not bad stuff. It's good stuff. Ryan does so many great things with you guys, but is there one thing, and I want each one of you to tell me this, is there one thing that you wish that you could do or get at Gwinnett Chat that you're not getting right now? We're gonna start with Kevin, and then we're gonna work our way up. Is it something you say, you know what, I wish we could do this through Gwinnett Chat, or I wish we had this, or is it one thing, just one thing, Kevin? One place you want to go, one thing you want to experience, one resource you need in your life?
I've been talking to Ryan about climbing Stone Mountain. I don't think everybody on board. Yeah, y'all want to climb Stone Mountain, y'all?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So you want to climb Stone Mountain? All right. Next, little man.
I don't really know, because I kind of do like everything we're doing, so I don't really have a place to that I want to visit, because I like all the places we visit.
Didn't you say you want to go to like a music studio?
Oh yeah.
Anything you want to do that you have not done so far, any place you want to visit, any experience you want to experience that you have not done so far?
No.
Okay. Going up to the top, Jonathan.
I'd say probably like going to like looking at different car shows, or like things dealing with vehicles, or like gaming things.
Okay, I like that car shows. They had a car show right in Lawrenceville with the old fashioned cars about a month ago, and I like going to car shows because I like old cars, vintage cars. So that's pretty cool. All right, Tristan.
Well, I pretty much like everything we like do pretty much, but
And no,
I would say,
whatever it is.
I would say just a college tour. That's just like what I like. Like just
Any
do more
college in particular?
Not really, just any colleges.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been on 2 college tours in the last couple weeks, so they really seem to. Yeah, they really like the Georgia State tour.
Okay. You want to go on a black college tour?
Yeah, like HBCU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Leo.
I would say the one thing that I would like want to do as like a group, I would say like behind the scenes of like an automotive shop.
Nice. Now you know BMW and Mercedes-Benz have shops right downtown Atlanta, and Hyundai. Hyundai has a plant somewhere downtown too, right? And they have programs.
Yeah, we're so that's and so that's kind of what's kind of on my list. So if anybody is listening, they have connections to like the Porsche facility, and also even like Atlanta Motor Speedway, because like Leo's already in school for automotive, and then Jonathan's really interested in cars. So those are the 2 things that I'm really going to be working on next to get tours of.
So there is a gentleman downtown, and the name of his company is called Derek Automotives. Ryan, you can check him out. Derek Automotives. He's downtown Atlanta, downtown at Atlantic Station. He's an African American man. He has an electric car and he has a showroom, and he does events down there. And he is a multimillionaire. He lives over the top of the showroom in Atlantic Station. So that should tell you something right there, because Atlanta Station is not it's not cheap. But he's a really nice guy, and he is right now. He has an electric car. He's pulling together an electric pool of cars, a fleet of cars. He has electric vans, and he also has electric bikes. And so he would probably love to host you guys at his place. And he has a nice space, and he does a lot of events there. So it's Derek Automotive. So check him out. Because he's really a nice guy, and I think he would love to host you guys at his place. Now his electric car, it doesn't run by, you don't plug it in, like you go get it serviced every 8 months. The car moves by the way the tires rotate some kind of way. And he also has his own metaverse, which I thought was pretty crazy. And he's inside of it. It's amazing. But anyway, Derek Automotive, check him out, and I'm sure he will be happy to host you guys at an event. And he does, I think, events like once a month. But here's what I would tell you: there's a lot of money be floating around up in there. So go check him, look him up, and then reach out to him, because he has that whole thing.
Okay. I have a question that I want to ask everybody since they're here. I know you're the host, but
go ahead.
I want to ask everybody, what has been your favorite experience that you've participated in since you've been a part of the program? Like, what has been the thing that you've enjoyed the most? Hockey. So like the Atlanta Gladiators, we did a behind the scenes tour with them, and we got to see a game. What about you?
I would say it's between the GSU tour and the hockey games.
Okay, so the Georgia State tour.
Well, I wasn't there for the hockey game, so I'm gonna say the GSU tour.
Okay.
I'll say either the GSU or the Strikers game.
Okay.
GSU made a big impression on y'all, I see.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, Ryan, I know you're still in the fundraising process. You're trying to get the bands.
We got one more person.
Okay, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah.
Between the fundraiser and the hockey games.
The fundraiser. You dancing next year?
If there's gonna be next year.
People started to sign up. They wanted to sign up that night. So I'm sure it's gonna be a next year. It's probably gonna be even bigger. So hopefully I see you dance again next year. I might even dance next year. I'm not gonna do that.
Right there with you.
Yeah, Leo wants to dance.
Okay, Leo, do your thing then. Ryan, I know you're still in the process of raising funding for the van. Where are you in that process?
Well, we have the GoFundMe set up. The process is for people to stop just liking the post and actually going to donate, because a lot of people look at it like, oh, I like the idea, what we need people to do is to just go onto the GoFundMe site, donate $1, and then tag somebody else and have them donate $1. And it's like, between all of our networks, like, it shouldn't take long. I mean, we should be able to get this done in a weekend. We're only trying to raise like $65,000. And my goal is like, hey, if we can do it because a lot of people, it's like, if you ask for $5, $10, $20, not everybody has that. But I'm pretty sure 99% people can spare $1 to share, and then just tag somebody else and have them to do $1. So for me, that, like, there shouldn't really be an excuse for not to donate at least $1 and tag.
Let me ask you this. I was at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium last Friday at the soccer game. And so, of course, it's the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and we have a Mercedes-Benz plant right here in Georgia. Have you thought about going to Mercedes-Benz and say, listen, you have, or either Arthur Blank, who owns the sports team, can you donate a Sprinter to us? Like, it's Mercedes-Benz, and it's the Mr. Blank's Foundation. Have you done that?
I've tried reaching out to them about different sponsorships. It's harder the bigger the organization, like especially with professional sports teams and even some of these companies, it's hard to get through. And so this is where, personal relationships. So with the sports teams that are here in Gwinnett, whether it be the Stripers, the Gladiators, the Swarm, I've built personal relations. I actually have a meeting next week with the Gladiators to figure out how we can do a long-term partnership. Same thing with the Swarm. Like, we're going to sit down and do a planning session of what we're going to do long-term to help raise money and do different events. But it's harder to get into the big sports teams, because a lot of times what happens, even with most organizations, is they support the national organizations first. So the bigger companies that have like national brand, they support them more. So it's harder to break into it without knowing someone personally. So, but if anybody has that personal connection and they can do a soft introduction for me, that would be great, because we want bigger sponsorships, because we really are really making a difference out here.
Yeah, you really are. And I think that there are organizations, and like you said, everything is about relationships. Now, there are smaller organizations that that support nonprofits, but a lot of times their funding kind of runs out, right? How do you know when to reach out to a smaller organization? Is it a certain time of year do they make their funding public knowledge? Because I could think that some people say, okay, the fiscal year ends in July. Does that mean money is available in August? And how do you know that?
Well, from what I hear is it's best to get to the organizations towards the end of the year, because what happens is they will go ahead, and so like going into the following year, they will already know what money is going to be allocated to where. So this is part of the things now that school is about to start back. I will be reaching out to these organizations that do a lot of philanthropy work, and I will be reaching out to them and saying, hey, look at what we're doing. This is, hey, or is this organization that you want to support? So get to them before they start making that budget for the next year, and people have already started hitting them up. So that's what one of my focus is going to be over the next few months.
I know you've been fortunate enough to bring on a grant writer, and a lot of times grant writers are, they're kind of pricey. So how did you set that up where the grant writer, you had to pay them up front? Do they get I don't know, some kind of commission after the grant is won? How does that process work? Because I've talked to quite a few people, and the first thing they say is, oh my God, we can't afford a grant writer. And then how do you know whether it's a good grant writer or not?
So it's just like doing any other thing where you got to do your homework. You do your research on this person and see if they're a good fit. So my grant writer that I use, she's been doing it for over 30 years and she has a big track record. She's also very well known. So she's also well connected. So that's one of the things that you want to do. You want to have a grant writer that has these connections, and not only can they find them, but they also know people. And so one of the things I tell people too, whenever you're applying for grants, you also need to find out, you got to do your even more homework. So when you go do something, find out whatever it's a foundation or a board or something like that, find out who's on that board. Start making those relationships, start taking them out. And so you need to build these relationships with the people who are making the decisions on these things, because that's what's going to get you further in that. But when it comes to hiring a grant writer, what you want to do, it's an investment. So like I still use a lot of my own money too to do things, because even when you win grants, there's two different types of grants. You have one where there's just money that's just, here's a general purpose. But most of the grants that are out there say, okay, we want to see exactly a breakdown of how are you going to use this money. And so, and then you're going to have to write a report. And with that report, they want to see, okay, here's this. So the last grant we got, here's $20,000. What are you going to use this money for? We want to break down. So whether, like with me, it helps renting. I had to rent a van last couple weeks to go do things. So it's money to rent a van, money for food, money for tours. I mean, money for one of the other ones we did was if you see like the shirt that I have on, this blue shirt, it was money to buy new shirts for everybody. So they want to see a breakdown. So even though we've gotten grants in the past, I can't just say, hey, I want to go out, I want to rent me a building, or I want to go out and use this money to go buy a van. We can't do that, because the money has to be earmarked for what you put into that grant. And then certain grants too, they're not going to fund certain things. And so if they don't fund it, you can't use that money for that.
Cool.
So I don't know.
Now I noticed that. Yeah, it does. It does.
Okay.
I see that you have all young men. Is this organization just for young men, or is it for young men and young women?
It's just a coincidence that it's all young men. We actually just had another young man that just started yesterday. He came out to CPR class with us. But it's open to everybody. It's open to any teenager that's in Gwinnett County. It's 100%. There's no financial commitment for this program either, which is the other thing that a lot of the parents really appreciate. So everything that we do, they've never had to come out of pocket for anything. So even yesterday at the CPR class, they asked me this, like, hey, are we going to get lunch? Like they can eat. And so we went out and we took a vote, and we all went out to Popeyes yesterday, and we had lunch there. And even we did a tour at Brunel University, and we had about 30 minutes before then, and we went out and we had lunch before that tour started. And so I'm paying for lunches as well, as long as you see everybody has the shirts on. And then the only downside, and the reason that we need that van, is because we have people, and a lot of them don't have the transportation to get to and from places. And so like right now, there's 5 of them here. We have more people in the program than that, but I can only pick up and do with whatever I have the capacity to do in my own personal vehicle. And so that's why we need that van, so we can be able to do more things and be able to help more kids.
So I want to, and this is probably going to be my last question. Well, close to the last question. You have a board, and one of your board members is a diehard. I don't care where she goes. When you say hello, she says
See Leo
Gwinnett Chat
smiling.
Outreach, right? As soon as you say hi, she's like, hi, Gwinnett Chat Outreach. How important is it to have a board, and what are really the responsibilities of the board? Because I know there's a nonprofit that I work with right now. She has a big board, and nobody does anything. So
Right.
except for me, I'm on the board. So it's always she and I on the board. How important is it for your board to be involved, and how do you decide on who should be on your board? And if they're not involved, can you fire them from the board?
Right. So the board is very important. So I initially started, we had a board, and then I had some of that same issues where people weren't doing anything. But what you need to do at the end of the day, whoever is running the organization, you have to remember you're still the CEO. So, I mean, I call myself the director, but at the end of the day, I'm still the CEO of this organization. And being the CEO comes with responsibilities. So we do board meetings. So we have our board meeting quarterly. And so every time we have a board meeting, I give them homework. And so me as the CEO, I set the tone, I set the rules, and I let them know what the expectations are. So I tell them, so we just had our board meeting a couple weeks ago. And one of the homeworks for the board was, hey, the number one thing that you all are responsible for is help raising money. So I need everybody to figure out what you need to come up with your own fundraiser, and you need to own it. And you need to figure out what are you going to do as your fundraiser. So that's the main thing. The other thing too, when you're putting a board together, you want to make sure you're not just putting anybody on the board. So the main thing with your board is, who are these people? What value are they bringing to this company, to this organization? So the person that you're talking about, everybody knows Kat. So her contribution, she is the biggest mouthpiece that I would have for this organization. She's my right hand. She will show up. She's been busy lately, but she helped plan the fundraiser. She's out there promoting everything. So then we have another person who is a business consultant. So he's going to advise on certain things. My wife, she's on the board. She's a vice president of human resources. So she's going to bring that element. We have a person on there who's an accountant. So she's going to bring that whole part when it comes to accounting. We have another person he works in IT, and he's also very well connected with a lot of people. So he brings that aspect. And so they are in charge of, everybody has a role. And so not only do they have a role as far as fundraising, but you have an individual role within the organization to make sure it succeeds. And then the other thing, I challenged him too. So we have a total, including myself, of 6 people on the board. And I told them, we need to get this board up to 9 people. And so we're not just gonna have anybody on this board. So what we do, I want you all to go out and you need to nominate people, and not just anybody. What type of experience, whether it be, they're very well connected, they have money, they have resources, they have time, because not everybody, and one thing Kat always likes to say, we need your talent, treasures, or talent, treasures, or time. And so if you can't bring the treasures, bring the time. If you can't bring the time, bring the talent. So whatever it is, they need to be able to do something, and they need to be making sure that, for me, Gwinnett Chat Outreach is your number one priority when it comes to philanthropy and when it comes to nonprofit work. We want to be your main priority. So that is very important to making sure that you're going to be successful.
That's the first time I've heard that, and it kind of hit me, because I sit on 4 boards right now, and I get pitched all the time to sit on boards. And a lot of times I say, 99% of the times I say no, because for one, if it's not an organization that I'm passionate about, I'm not going to do good there. But two, is just a lot of time. And so that's the first time I've heard any director say, I need you to be solely dedicated to my organization. No one has ever said that because I sit on four different boards. My last question is, when you get board members who say, hey, Ryan, I want to sit on your board, right? But their expectation is I'm going to get paid. And I don't get paid from any of the boards I sit on. So let me just put that out there. It's a labor of love because I like the mission. What do you say to that person who say, I want to sit on your board, Ryan, and but I mean, what does it pay? Because I get that too. I hear people say that, and I don't think I don't know anybody who gets paid to sit on the board, but I know people that are expecting payment.
No, board members are there because you believe in an organization. You shouldn't get paid. It's just no different from a question you asked earlier about grant writers. Grant writers shouldn't be getting commission off of anything they do. You pay them to do the job. If that job, they get the job done, you pay them to do that job. So that's not how it works. So board members, you're doing it because you believe in an organization. It's something that you want to be a part of. So if somebody's looking to get paid, they're in the wrong spot.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, young men, for sitting here. You sat here for like 56 minutes. So I appreciate y'all. I know that was like a little rough, but I do this every day. So it's all right for me. But I know for you that was a lot. Any closing remarks you want to say before we close it out and before we let Ryan tell people how to reach out to you, to the fellas? Anything you guys want to say before we say goodbye for the weekend?
Just thanks for having us and letting us just answer your questions.
You're welcome. You can come back anytime. Anytime you got something to talk about, just shoot me an email and say, hey, I want to come on the show. I got something to talk about. All right. You're welcome anytime. All right, Ryan. Thank you so much. How can people reach out to you to support the organization moving forward?
Yeah, you can go to my website, gwinnettchat.org, and you can see all about some of the things that we've done. The best way, honestly, to keep up with us is follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and just search Gwinnett Chat Outreach. So anything on those platforms, it's going to be more up to date. So you're going to see more of what we're doing because it's just hard. We do so many events. And there's so much stuff that's going on that it'll be nearly impossible to keep up with the website every day. But my social media, we're updating probably daily, sometimes twice a day. So you'll get to see all the things that we're really out here doing.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being my guest today. Thank you for sharing that information. Listen, recap. If you are a nonprofit looking for funding, go to these stores and ask them, do they have grant funds? You got to go ask. Go to the university and colleges and ask them, do they have grant foundations? Because they may have a grant that can support your organization as well. Ryan has been doing a good job in raising funds for his organization. He's still raising more funds, y'all. Go to GwinnettChat.org to support the organization again. So Brian, thank you guys for being here with me today. I appreciate you taking the time, and I look, when you do something big, come back. I'll love to have you come back.
Oh yeah, you know where to find me, so I'll definitely be back.
All right, thanks. Have a good weekend, fellas.
All right, you too.
All right, bye. All right, listen, y'all, that's all I got for you today. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you spent the last 1 hour with me, and I love and appreciate you for that. I'll be back again Monday at 10 a.m. God willing. You guys stay safe out there. Have a wonderful weekend. Until next time, make it a great day. Bye, y'all.